Beneath the restless surface of our oceans lies a world untouched by time, a silent graveyard of forgotten empires, where the echoes of ancient rituals still linger in the crumbling stones of sunken cities. What if the myths we've dismissed as mere stories were actually fragments of a lost history, waiting to be pieced together? From the legendary Atlantis to the enigmatic structures off the coast of Yonaguni, these submerged ruins aren't just relics of the past. They're puzzles that challenge everything we thought we knew about human civilization. Why do these tales of drowned kingdoms captivate us across centuries? And what secrets do they guard in their watery depths? This is where myth and science collide. Underwater archaeology isn't just about recovering artifacts, it's about decoding the whispers of the past, merging the fantastical with the tangible. Imagine divers illuminating the remains of a temple swallowed by the sea, its walls adorned with symbols that match descriptions from ancient texts. Or consider the eerie precision of submerged megaliths, their alignment mirroring celestial patterns described in oral traditions. These discoveries don't just rewrite history, they blur the line between legend and reality, forcing us to question, were these rituals merely stories, or were they rooted in something far more profound? Today, we're embarking on a journey to uncover these mysteries, diving into the shadowy realms where archaeology and mythology intertwine. We'll explore how cutting-edge technology is revealing the truth behind sunken empires and why their rituals once thought lost to time might still hold meaning for us today. From the sacred ceremonies of Atlantis to the underwater monuments of Dwarka, each discovery is a thread in a larger tapestry, weaving together human ambition, spirituality, and the relentless passage of time. So, suspend your disbelief and step into the unknown, because what we're about to uncover might just change the way you see history forever. There's something hauntingly beautiful about the idea of a lost civilization lying just beneath the waves, a kingdom frozen in time, its secrets preserved in the quiet darkness of the ocean. Sunken cities like Atlantis or Dwarka aren't just relics, they're symbols of humanity's deepest fears and fascinations. Think about it. Why do these stories persist across cultures, from the flood myths of Mesopotamia to the aboriginal tales of lands swallowed by the sea? It's as if these legends are whispering a truth we've forgotten, a collective memory of catastrophe, survival, and resilience. Take Plato's account of Atlantis, for example. He described an advanced society that vanished in a single day and night, its greatness drowned by the sea. For centuries, scholars debated whether Atlantis was pure fiction or a distorted memory of a real place. Then, underwater archaeologists began discovering ruins that matched Plato's descriptions: massive stone structures, concentric rings, even artifacts suggesting a sophisticated culture. Suddenly, the line between myth and history blurred. Could these sunken ruins be the physical remnants of stories passed down for generations? And it's not just Atlantis. Off the coast of India, the ancient city of Dwarka, said to be the kingdom of the Hindu god Krishna, lies submerged beneath the waves. Local fishermen had long spoken of glimpsing temples and pillars under the water, but it wasn't until divers explored the site that they found evidence of a thriving port city, swallowed by rising sea levels thousands of years ago. The parallels between these discoveries and the flood narratives in sacred texts are impossible to ignore. Were these myths just cautionary tales, or were they preserving a warning from the past? Underwater archaeology gives us the tools to answer that question. Every time divers uncover a sunken city, they're not just retrieving artifacts, they're piecing together a puzzle that connects ancient stories to real events. The ruins of Pavlopetri in Greece, for instance, reveal a bustling Bronze Age town now lying just beneath the surface, its streets and buildings eerily intact. Or consider the Yonaguni monument off Japan, a massive underwater formation that some believe could be man-made, its terraced steps and sharp angles defying natural explanation. These sites force us to reconsider what we know about human history. Perhaps the most compelling part of these discoveries is how they challenge our understanding of time. Civilizations rise and fall, coastlines shift, and entire cities vanish beneath the waves, yet their stories endure. Oral traditions, once dismissed as mere folklore, now seem like coded messages from the past, waiting for us to decipher them. And with every new technological advance, sonar mapping, underwater drones, 3D reconstructions, we get closer to unlocking the secrets of these lost worlds. So the next time you hear a myth about a sunken kingdom, ask yourself, could there be more to the story? Because beneath the ocean's surface, the past is still speaking, if we're willing to listen. Plato's tale of Atlantis is more than just a story. It's a riddle that has taunted historians and explorers for over 2,000 years. In his dialogues, he described a mighty island empire, rich in resources and advanced in technology, that angered the gods and was swallowed by the sea in a single catastrophic day. But here's the twist. Plato insisted this wasn't fiction. He claimed the story came from Egyptian priests who said it had happened 9,000 years before his time. So, was Atlantis real, or was it a cautionary tale about hubris, a metaphor for civilizations that rise too high and fall too hard? The debate takes a fascinating turn when we look at the physical evidence. Off the coast of the Azores, sonar scans have revealed strange geometric shapes on the ocean floor, structures that eerily resemble the concentric rings Plato described. Then there's the Richat structure in Mauritania, a massive circular formation in the Sahara that some researchers argue matches the layout of Atlantis. Could this be the remnants of a lost city, buried not by water but by shifting sands? And in the Mediterranean, the ruins of Akrotiri on Santorini tell a haunting story. This Minoan settlement was obliterated by the eruption of Thera around 1600 BCE, an event so devastating it may have inspired Atlantis's downfall. Parallels are uncanny, a thriving culture wiped out in hours by nature's fury. But here's where archaeology gets thrilling. These discoveries don't just prove or disprove Atlantis, they show how myths can act as breadcrumbs, leading us to real historical truths. Take the work of Dr. Richard Freund, who used ground-penetrating radar to study marshlands in southern Spain. He found ruins that mirrored Plato's descriptions, complete with evidence of tsunamis that could have erased a coastal city. Even if Atlantis never existed as Plato told it, these findings suggest his story might have been stitched together from real disasters, a patchwork of ancient catastrophes passed down through generations. The search for Atlantis also reveals something deeper about human nature. We're drawn to lost worlds because they reflect our own fears of collapse, of being forgotten. Every time archaeologists uncover a sunken city or a buried metropolis, it's a reminder that even the greatest civilizations are fragile. And perhaps that's the real lesson of Atlantis, not whether it was real, but why we so desperately want it to be. Because if a society that advanced could vanish, what does that mean for us? So while we may never find a definitive Atlantis, the hunt itself rewrites history. It pushes technology forward, from underwater drones to satellite imaging, and forces us to re-examine ancient texts with fresh eyes. Whether fact or fiction, Atlantis endures as a symbol, a challenge to keep digging, keep questioning, and keep listening to the whispers of the past. Because sometimes the most powerful truths aren't found in what we discover, but in the search itself. Now let's turn our attention to the enigmatic Yonaguni monument, a sprawling underwater structure off the coast of Japan that has divided experts for decades. Rising from the ocean floor near the tiny island of Yonaguni, this massive formation features eerily precise right angles, flat terraces, and what appear to be staircases, elements that seem too deliberate to be random acts of nature. Discovered in the 1980s by a local diver, the site stretches over 200 feet long and stands nearly 90 feet tall, its sheer scale alone forcing us to reconsider what might be possible in humanity's ancient past. The debate hinges on a single, tantalizing question. Is this the work of natural forces, or could it be the remnants of a civilization lost to rising seas? Geologists point to the area's active seismic activity, arguing that the sandstone formation could have been shaped by tectonic shifts and erosion over millennia. They note the parallel fractures and flat surfaces found in other natural rock formations worldwide. Yet, other researchers counter with the monument's uncanny symmetry, the way its tiers resemble ceremonial platforms or the stepped pyramids of Mesoamerica. There's even what appears to be a carved face, a humanoid figure staring blankly from the depths, though skeptics dismiss it as pareidolia, our brain's tendency to see patterns where none exist. What makes Yonaguni so fascinating isn't just the formation itself, but what it represents in the larger puzzle of human history. If human hands did shape these stones, it would imply a sophisticated society thriving in the Pacific over 10,000 years ago, long before conventional timelines suggest such advanced cultures existed. Imagine the implications: a coastal civilization submerged as glaciers melted and sea levels rose, its existence preserved only in local folklore and this cryptic underwater relic. The indigenous peoples of Japan's Ryukyu Islands have oral traditions of submerged lands, stories once dismissed as myth but now gaining eerie relevance. Technology has only deepened the mystery. Underwater drones and 3D mapping reveal details invisible to early divers, what looks like tool marks on certain surfaces or circular depressions that could have held pillars. Yet, even with these tools, the ocean refuses to give up its secrets easily. Currents have smoothed edges, coral has colonized surfaces, and time has blurred the line between what's crafted and what's carved by chance. This is the heart of underwater archaeology's greatest challenge, distinguishing human intention from nature's artistry. Perhaps the truth lies somewhere in between. The Yonaguni monument might not be a purely man-made city, but neither is it entirely natural. Could it have started as a geological formation, later modified by ancient peoples for ceremonial or practical purposes? Similar hybrid sites exist worldwide, where humans repurposed natural features into sacred spaces. Until more evidence surfaces, literally, Yonaguni remains an open question, a ghostly reminder that the past is far more fluid than we'd like to believe. And that's what keeps us searching. Whether natural wonder or lost civilization, the monument forces us to confront how little we truly know about the ancient world. Every dive, every scan, every fresh analysis brings us closer to an answer, or perhaps to an even greater mystery. The story of Dwarka reads like a bridge between heaven and earth, a celestial city built by divine hands only to be reclaimed by the sea. According to ancient Hindu texts like the Mahabharata and the Puranas, Dwarka was the kingdom of Lord Krishna, a metropolis of unparalleled splendor with towering gates, golden palaces, and streets so wide they could host chariot races. But when Krishna departed the mortal world, the texts say the ocean rose in grief, swallowing the city whole. For centuries, this tale lived in the realm of myth, until archaeologists began pulling stones from the waves off the coast of modern-day Gujarat, revealing a truth as startling as the legend itself. What they found beneath the Arabian Sea was nothing short of a time capsule. Stone anchors, heavy with the wear of centuries, lay scattered as if the ships they once moored had vanished mid-voyage. Pottery shards, some adorned with motifs matching descriptions from sacred scriptures, whispered of daily life in a bustling port. Most compelling were the submerged walls, massive stone blocks arranged in geometric patterns, their edges worn smooth by tides but their purpose unmistakable. These weren't random ruins, they were the bones of a sophisticated harbor city dating back 3,500 years. The alignment was uncanny. The text described Dwarka as a maritime powerhouse, and here was proof of a real coastal settlement thriving during the same era. But the real revelation wasn't just the artifacts, it was the disaster that sealed them. Geological studies of the area show signs of sudden subsidence, a catastrophic sinking of the coastline that could have sent Dwarka beneath the waves in a matter of generations. This mirrors flood myths found in cultures worldwide, from Mesopotamia to the indigenous peoples of Australia. Were these stories collective memories of a time when rising seas reshaped the map? Dwarka's ruins suggest the answer is yes. The city's layers tell a tale of resilience. Older structures show repairs, as if its people fought back the water until they could fight no longer. What makes Dwarka extraordinary is how it transforms the way we see ancient texts. Historians once dismissed the Mahabharata's descriptions as poetic exaggeration. Now, those verses read like eyewitness accounts, details about Dwarka's layout, its sea walls, even the types of ships in its harbor, all corroborated by archaeology. It's as if the myth keepers were chroniclers, preserving blueprints of a real place across millennia. Modern divers, armed with sonar and carbon dating, are essentially following a trail of breadcrumbs left in scripture. And the implications ripple far beyond India. Dwarka joins a growing list of sunken cities, from Egypt's Heracleion to Jamaica's Port Royal, that prove folklore often holds kernels of historical truth. These discoveries force us to ask how many other myths are waiting to be unearthed. Every time a wave shifts the sand off Dwarka's coast, it might reveal another clue, another piece of the puzzle. The ocean, it seems, is the world's greatest archive, its pages written in stone and salt. So the next time you hear an ancient tale of a drowned city, listen closely. Because as Dwarka shows, the line between legend and history isn't as solid as we think sometimes. It's just waiting to be washed away by the tide. In the icy depths of the Baltic Sea, sonar operators made a discovery that would baffle scientists and conspiracy theorists alike: a massive, disc-shaped structure resting silently on the seafloor. Stretching nearly 200 feet wide, with strange geometric ridges and what appeared to be stair-like formations, the so-called Baltic Sea anomaly defied easy explanation. Was this the wreckage of a crashed UFO, as some passionately argued, or perhaps the remnants of an ancient temple, drowned by rising seas thousands of years ago? The truth, as often happens in underwater archaeology, proved far more elusive than anyone anticipated. Divers who ventured down to investigate described an almost otherworldly scene. The object's surface was oddly smooth in places, interrupted by sharp, angular edges that seemed too precise for random geological processes. Some even claimed their equipment malfunctioned near the anomaly, fueling speculation about electromagnetic interference, a detail that sent UFO enthusiasts into overdrive. Yet geologists countered with a simpler theory: glacial deposits. During the last ice age, retreating glaciers could have dragged and sculpted this formation, leaving behind a natural oddity that only looked artificial. But here's where the mystery deepens. Core samples taken from the site revealed traces of metals not typically found in the area, alongside strange, soot-like residue. Proponents of the ancient relic theory pointed to similar megalithic structures like Stonehenge or Göbekli Tepe, suggesting that prehistoric cultures might have built far more than we've given them credit for. Could this be evidence of a lost seafaring civilization, its achievements now buried beneath the waves? Others, however, noted that the Baltic Sea was once dry land, raising the possibility that the anomaly wasn't built underwater at all, but swallowed by the sea as glaciers melted. The real intrigue lies in how polarizing the Baltic Sea anomaly has become. For every scientist dismissing it as a quirky rock formation, there's an explorer uncovering another peculiar detail, like the mysterious circular marks near its base, resembling mooring points for ropes. Even NASA weighed in, though cautiously, acknowledging the structure's unusual appearance while stopping short of endorsing extraterrestrial theories. This back and forth captures the essence of underwater archaeology, a field where every discovery invites more questions than answers, where the line between fact and folklore blurs with each dive. Perhaps the most compelling aspect of the anomaly isn't what it is, but what it represents: our enduring fascination with the unknown. Whether a UFO, a glacial relic, or something in between, it reminds us that the ocean floor is Earth's final frontier, hiding secrets that challenge our understanding of history. Until advanced technology can unravel its origins, the Baltic Sea anomaly remains a tantalizing enigma, a silent sentinel guarding its story in the cold, dark depths. And that's the thrill of exploration. Sometimes the greatest discoveries aren't the answers we find, but the mysteries we can't yet solve. Off the western coast of Cuba, buried beneath 2,000 feet of ocean, lies one of the most perplexing underwater discoveries of our time. In 2001, a team of researchers mapping the seafloor stumbled upon something extraordinary: a series of massive, symmetrical stone structures, their angles so precise they appeared to mirror the pyramids of Egypt and Mesoamerica. But here's the catch: these formations rest at depths that would place their construction thousands of years before the rise of any known pyramid-building civilization. Were these the ruins of an advanced society lost to time, or simply a geological fluke, a trick of nature's hand? The site, dubbed the Sunken Pyramids of Cuba, immediately sparked fierce debate. On one side, marine archaeologists pointed to the structure's uncanny alignment and smooth, almost polished surfaces, arguing they bore the hallmarks of human engineering. The formations weren't isolated; they appeared arranged in deliberate patterns, with what looked like wide avenues connecting them, reminiscent of ceremonial centers like Teotihuacan or Tikal. Yet geologists countered with a compelling alternative. Underwater volcanic activity or sandstone erosion could create similar angular shapes over millennia. After all, nature has crafted its own pyramids before, like the towering basalt columns of the Giant's Causeway in Ireland. But the mystery deepens when you consider the timeline. If human hands did carve these stones, they would have had to do so when sea levels were dramatically lower, likely during or just after the last ice age, around 12,000 years ago. That predates the oldest known pyramids in Egypt by at least 7,000 years and the Olmec civilization, often called Mesoamerica's mother culture, by even longer. Could this be evidence of a precursor society, one sophisticated enough to build monumental architecture but erased from history by rising waters? The idea isn't as far-fetched as it sounds. Indigenous oral traditions across the Caribbean speak of ancestral homelands swallowed by the sea, while Plato's account of Atlantis placed a lost empire somewhere beyond the Pillars of Hercules, a location some interpret as the Strait of Gibraltar, gateway to the Atlantic. Technology has only added fuel to the fire. Recent side-scan sonar images reveal even more structures nearby, some with what appear to be inscriptions or symbols, though silt and coral growth have made definitive analysis impossible. Divers attempting to explore the site face crushing pressures and treacherous currents, leaving much of the mystery intact, until robotic submersibles or advanced imaging can provide clearer answers. The pyramids of Cuba remain an open question, one that challenges our understanding of human ingenuity and resilience. What makes this discovery so captivating isn't just the possibility of rewriting history books. It's the reminder that our planet's surface is ever-changing, that civilizations rise and fall with the tides. The ocean doesn't just hide shipwrecks and lost treasures. It may conceal entire chapters of human achievement, waiting for the right moment to resurface. And that's the thrill of underwater archaeology. Every dive, every scan is a chance to recover a piece of the puzzle, to listen to the echoes of those who came before us. Whether natural wonder or ancient metropolis, Cuba's sunken pyramids invite us to keep questioning, to keep searching, because the past, it seems, still has secrets to spill. Beneath the crystal-clear waters of southern Laconia, just off the coast of Greece, lies a time capsule so perfectly preserved it feels like walking through a ghost town, except this one hasn't seen sunlight for over 5,000 years. Pavlopetri, the world's oldest known submerged city, isn't shrouded in myth or speculation. Its cobbled streets, crumbling courtyards, and even the faint outlines of long-abandoned tombs are etched into the seafloor with startling clarity, offering archaeologists a rare window into daily life during the Bronze Age. Unlike Atlantis or Dwarka, Pavlopetri isn't a legend debated by scholars. It's a tangible, grid-planned settlement that silently rewrites our understanding of ancient urban sophistication. What makes Pavlopetri extraordinary isn't just its age, but its eerie state of preservation. While most underwater ruins are fragmented by tides or buried under sediment, this city's layout remains almost fully intact. Imagine swimming above streets still aligned in careful right angles, tracing the foundations of houses where families once gathered around hearths, or spotting the weathered remains of a communal cistern that quenched the thirst of an entire neighborhood. Even the graves, marked by simple stone slabs, whisper personal stories, proof that real people lived, traded, and died here long before the pyramids of Giza rose from the desert. The real revelation, though, is what Pavlopetri tells us about Bronze Age commerce and culture. Archaeologists have uncovered pottery fragments from distant Crete and Cyprus, evidence of a bustling maritime trade network that connected this small coastal town to far-flung corners of the Mediterranean. The city's strategic harbor, now submerged under just 10 feet of water, would have been a hive of activity, merchants bartering goods, sailors unloading exotic imports, and craftsmen shaping tools from imported metals. This wasn't some isolated village, it was a cosmopolitan hub, a vital thread in the fabric of ancient globalization. But perhaps the most haunting detail is how Pavlopetri met its end. Unlike cities destroyed by volcanoes or wars, this one seems to have slipped beneath the waves gradually, as rising sea levels, likely triggered by climatic shifts or tectonic activity, claimed its streets inch by inch over generations. The absence of violent destruction means everyday objects were left where they last fell. Storage jars still upright in corners, loom weights scattered near where weaving once took place, even a child's ceramic cup half buried in sediment. It's as if the entire city was paused mid-breath, frozen in time by the sea's slow embrace. Today, Pavlopetri's greatest gift to archaeology isn't just the artifacts it yields, but the questions it forces us to ask. How many other coastal settlements shared its fate, vanishing beneath rising waters as ice ages ended? Could oral traditions of drowned worlds across cultures stem from collective memories of real events like Pavlopetri's submersion? With climate change once again reshaping coastlines, This ancient city serves as both a warning and a wonder, proof that human ingenuity has always danced with nature's tides, and that even the most solid foundations can one day become seabed. As underwater robots map Pavlopetri's every stone with millimeter precision, we're not just studying history, we're relearning humility. The sea, it turns out, has been writing its own library all along, shelf after shelf of sunken stories waiting to be read. And Pavlopetri is just the first chapter. For centuries, the Egyptian city of Heracleion existed only in whispers, a name etched in ancient texts and temple inscriptions, described as a glittering gateway where the Nile met the Mediterranean. Historians knew it as Thonis Heracleion, a vital port where Greek merchants rubbed shoulders with Egyptian priests, where goods from across the ancient world changed hands beneath the gaze of towering statues. Then, around the 8th century, it vanished. No ruins marked its location. No maps could pinpoint where this legendary city had stood. It became another Atlantis, a place lost to myth, until 2,000 years later, when a team of underwater archaeologists, led by Frank Gaudio, swept their sonar over Aboukir Bay and stumbled upon a discovery that would rewrite history. The first glimpses of Heracleion's resurrection were nothing short of cinematic. Giant statues of pharaohs and gods emerged from the silt, their faces still bearing traces of paint after millennia underwater. A colossal stone stele, inscribed with a decree from Pharaoh Nectanebo I, stood upright as if placed there yesterday. Gold coins, jewelry, and ceremonial barges lay scattered across the seafloor, alongside the wrecks of 64 ships, the largest collection of ancient vessels ever found in one place. Each artifact told a story of a city alive with movement, where cultures collided and blended in ways we're only beginning to understand. What makes Heracleion so extraordinary isn't just its treasures, but what they reveal about the fluidity of ancient identity. Here, Egyptian deities like Ammon were worshipped alongside Greek gods like Heracles, the city's namesake. Temple offerings included both traditional Egyptian faience and Greek pottery, suggesting a society where rituals adapted to accommodate newcomers. Even the city's layout defied expectations. Canals crisscrossed the metropolis like veins, connecting temples to docks, while a grand central shrine acted as both a religious epicenter and a customs house, where taxes were paid in goods from distant lands. This wasn't just a port, it was a melting pot, a place where belief systems and trade routes intertwined. Yet Heracleion's fate holds a darker lesson. Geological cores taken from the site tell a tale of gradual disaster: soft clay beneath the city liquefying during earthquakes, causing buildings to tilt and sink. Rising sea levels, possibly linked to climate shifts, then swallowed what remained. The parallels to modern coastal cities are impossible to ignore. Like Pavlopetri or Dwarka, Heracleion reminds us that even the mightiest empires are at the mercy of the Earth's restless movements. Its artifacts, preserved in brine and sand, are more than relics. They're a mirror, reflecting our own vulnerabilities in the face of nature's power. Perhaps the most haunting artifact isn't gold or stone, but something far simpler: a child's wooden toy found near the ruins of a home. It's a humble object, one that transcends time. Proof that Heracleion wasn't just a hub of commerce or religion, but a place where people lived, loved, and raised families. That's the real magic of underwater archaeology. It doesn't just recover cities, it resurrects humanity. And as long as the sea keeps its secrets, we'll keep diving, searching for the next piece of the puzzle, one sunken empire at a time. On a remote stretch of the Pacific, where the ocean meets tangled mangrove forests, lies a city so strange it feels like it was dreamed into existence: Nan Madol. 92 artificial islands linked by a labyrinth of canals, all built atop coral reefs using colossal basalt logs. Each stone weighs tons, some as heavy as 50 metric tons, yet they were stacked with precision into walls 15 feet high. How did an ancient island society without metal tools or pulleys achieve this? Local Pohnpeian legends offer a cryptic clue. Twin sorcerers Olasipa and Olasopa summoned a flying dragon to levitate the stones into place. Archaeologists, of course, seek more earthly explanations. The basalt columns, hexagonal like the Giant's Causeway, were quarried from volcanic cliffs miles away. But transporting them remains a puzzle. No wheels existed on Pohnpei, and the islands lack large draft animals. Some theorize logs or bamboo rafts were used, yet even that fails to explain how laborers maneuvered such weight through treacherous tides. What's undeniable is the ambition behind Nan Madol. This wasn't just a village, it was a ceremonial and political capital. Its largest structure, the mortuary Temple of Nan Madol, reserved for the island's ruling elite. The canals, eerily silent now, once pulsed with outrigger canoes carrying priests and chieftains to rituals beneath palm-thatched roofs. But Nan Madol's true mystery isn't just how it was built, it's why it was abandoned. By the time European explorers arrived in the 19th century, the city was already a ghostly ruin, its stone platforms overgrown with banyan roots. Oral histories speak of a tyrannical dynasty overthrown, their dark magic unable to stave off rebellion. Yet climate scientists point to another culprit: rising seas. Core samples reveal Pohnpei's coastline has shifted dramatically over centuries, swallowing freshwater taro fields and salinating wells. Nan Madol, perched at the edge of sustainability, may have fallen victim to the same forces that drowned Dwarka and Pavlopetri, a reminder that even stone empires are no match for a changing planet. What lingers most is the cultural memory. Modern Pohnpeians still call Nan Madol the place between spaces, a realm where spirits walk. Divers report an uncanny quiet in its canals, as if the water itself remembers the chants that once echoed here. Unlike fully submerged cities, Nan Madol exists in limbo, half drowned by tides, half clinging to land, its stones whispering secrets we've yet to fully decipher. It challenges not just our understanding of ancient engineering, but of how civilizations document their own collapse. The ruins don't just tell a story of sorcerers and kings, they're a warning etched in basalt, proof that no society, no matter how ingenious, is immune to nature's tides. The Gulf of Cambay hides a secret that could rewrite the history books, an ancient metropolis lying beneath the murky waters off India's western coast. In 2001, marine archaeologists surveying the seafloor made a discovery that sent shockwaves through the scientific community: the remains of a vast, submerged city, complete with geometric structures, pottery shards, and even human bones. But what truly stunned researchers was the carbon dating. These artifacts weren't just centuries old. They dated back an astonishing 9,500 years, placing this lost civilization firmly in the shadowy prelude of human history, long before the rise of the Indus Valley or Mesopotamia. Imagine a society thriving here while mammoths still roamed parts of the earth, a culture sophisticated enough to build sprawling settlements, while much of the world was still grappling with the basics of agriculture. The implications are staggering. If verified, the Gulf of Cambay ruins suggest that urban life may have emerged far earlier than we ever imagined, challenging the conventional narrative that places the cradle of civilization solely in the Fertile Crescent. The site's layout hints at advanced planning: grid-like streets, drainage systems, and even what appear to be ritual platforms, all submerged beneath 120 feet of water. How did this city end up there? Geologists point to a cataclysmic event around 7,500 years ago, when melting glaciers triggered rising seas, swallowing entire coastlines. Sound familiar? It's the same story echoed in flood myths from India to the Americas, as if humanity's oldest tales were preserving a collective memory of this global deluge. Yet, as with all underwater discoveries, controversy follows. Skeptics argue that strong currents in the Gulf could have scattered natural rock formations into deceptive patterns, mimicking man-made structures. Others question whether the recovered artifacts might have been displaced from later periods, their age misread by sediment disturbances. Even the human remains, some showing signs of trauma, have sparked debate. Were these victims of the rising waters, or do they tell a darker story of conflict? The truth is, underwater archaeology is as much about sifting through doubt as it is sifting through sand. Every claim must withstand rigorous scrutiny, especially when it threatens to upend established timelines. What makes the Gulf of Cambay so compelling isn't just the potential rewrite of history, it's the tantalizing possibility of connections. Could this sunken city have traded with other lost cultures, its merchants sailing as far as the Persian Gulf or the Sunder Shelf? Some researchers point to similarities between Cambay's pottery and fragments found in Oman, suggesting a maritime network spanning thousands of miles. Then there's the eerie coincidence of its age, aligning almost perfectly with Plato's timeline for Atlantis. Coincidence, perhaps, but as more submerged sites emerge, from Japan's Yonaguni to India's own Dwarka, it's becoming harder to dismiss these parallels as mere fantasy. The Gulf of Cambay reminds us that history isn't set in stone, it's written in layers, and the deepest layers often lie underwater. Whether this site proves to be a misplaced marvel or a legitimate missing chapter, its very existence forces us to ask, how many other civilizations rose, thrived, and vanished beneath the waves, leaving only whispers in the silt? Until divers and robots can explore its depths more thoroughly, the ruins of Cambay will remain a riddle, one that challenges not just what we know, but how we dare to imagine the past. Just off the coast of Bimini in the Bahamas, a strange formation lies beneath the turquoise waters, a half-mile-long path of massive rectangular stones, so perfectly aligned it looks like the ruins of an ancient highway. Known as the Bimini Road, this underwater enigma has fueled speculation for decades. Could these weathered blocks be remnants of a lost Atlantean causeway, as some fervently believe? Or are they simply a quirk of nature, a geological oddity that happens to resemble human handiwork? The mystery began in 1968, when divers first reported the site's uncanny symmetry. The stones, some weighing several tons, are arranged in a near-perfect straight line, with right angles and layered segments that echo man-made pavements. Proponents of the artificial theory point to similar structures worldwide, like the Inca roads of Peru or the flagstone paths of ancient Rome, arguing that the Bimini Road fits a pattern of sophisticated prehistoric engineering. Even more tantalizing are local legends. The indigenous Taino people spoke of a great flood that swallowed their ancestral lands, while early 20th century psychic Edgar Cayce famously predicted that proof of Atlantis would emerge near Bimini. When the road was discovered just years after his death, it seemed to some like prophecy fulfilled. Yet geologists offer a different explanation. The stones, they argue, are beak rock, a type of sedimentary formation common in shallow tropical waters. Over centuries, layers of sand and shell cement together, fracturing naturally into block-like segments. Wave action and tides can then erode these fractures, creating the illusion of deliberate placement. Studies show the blocks lack tool marks or mortar, and their composition matches nearby shoreline deposits. Even the road's eerie alignment has a natural parallel. Tidal currents often sculpt rock formations into linear patterns, especially in areas with consistent wave direction. But here's where things get interesting. While science leans toward a natural origin, the debate refuses to die. Recent dives have revealed smaller stones fitted beneath the larger blocks, almost like leveling material, a detail that doesn't fit typical bikrock behavior. Then there's the depth. The road sits in about 18 feet of water, a level consistent with sea rise since the last ice age. If human hands did shape these stones, they would have done so when Bimini was dry land over 10,000 years ago. That timeline matches Plato's account of Atlantis' demise, adding another layer of intrigue. What makes the Bimini road so compelling isn't just the question of its origin, it's what it reveals about our relationship with the past. Whether natural or man-made, the site has become a cultural touchstone, a physical anchor for humanity's fascination with lost worlds. Every year, divers and researchers return, armed with new technology, hoping to settle the debate once and for all. Yet perhaps the road's greatest lesson is this: sometimes the most enduring mysteries aren't about finding answers, but about keeping the questions alive. After all, the ocean doesn't give up its secrets easily, and that's what keeps us searching. The shoreline near Mahabalipuram has whispered secrets for centuries, stories of 7 magnificent temples, 6 of them claimed by the sea, leaving only one standing as a silent sentinel on the coast. For generations, these tales were dismissed as poetic folklore, until the day the ocean itself decided to reveal the truth. When the devastating 2004 tsunami receded, it pulled back a curtain of sand and water, exposing something extraordinary: the ghostly outlines of ancient stone structures, their surfaces etched with intricate carvings of gods, mythical beasts, and forgotten kings. Divers who rushed to investigate found not just scattered ruins, but an entire submerged complex: pillars, plinths, and even a massive lion statue, all lying in shallow waters just 1,500 feet from shore. What makes these sunken temples so remarkable isn't just their sudden reappearance, it's how precisely they mirror the local legends. Tamil folklore describes a bustling port city with 7 towering pagodas, their golden spires visible far out to sea. According to the myths, the gods grew jealous of the city's splendor and sent a great wave to drown all but one temple, now known as the Shore Temple. Archaeologists working at the site were stunned to discover that the underwater ruins align almost perfectly with these oral traditions. The carvings match stylistic elements from the Pallava dynasty, which ruled the region between the 6th and 9th centuries, suggesting the temples were swallowed by rising seas or a catastrophic event like the one preserved in legend. But the real revelation here isn't just the validation of myth, it's the chilling reminder of how quickly the sea can rewrite human history. Geological surveys show that Mahabalipuram's coastline has shifted dramatically over the past 2,000 years, with evidence of multiple tsunami events buried in sediment layers. The temples didn't vanish overnight. They were likely eroded by successive waves, their foundations slowly undermined by rising waters. Sound familiar? Today, as climate change accelerates coastal erosion worldwide, Mahabalipuram stands as a warning. The very same forces that drowned these sacred stones now threaten modern cities from Venice to Miami, proving that the dialogue between land and sea is far from over. Perhaps the most poignant detail lies in the carvings themselves. Among the submerged ruins, divers found depictions of the goddess Durga slaying the buffalo demon, a symbol of triumph over chaos. It's as if the artisans who carved these stones knew their work might one day face the ocean's fury, leaving behind not just art but a message. The sea took these temples, but it couldn't erase their stories. And that's the power of oral tradition. Even when ruins are buried, the memories survive, passed down like heirlooms until the day the waves decide to give them back. Now, as underwater drones map the full extent of Mahabalipuram's lost city, we're left to wonder, how many other legends are waiting to be proven true? And in an age of rising seas, what sacred sites might we lose before we fully understand their stories? The ocean, it seems, is still writing this chapter, one tide at a time. Beneath the churning waves of the North Sea, where fishing trawlers now drag their nets, lies a lost world frozen in time, Doggerland. 8,000 years ago, this wasn't water at all, but a vast, fertile plain stretching from Britain to Denmark, home to forests teeming with deer, rivers thick with fish, and early human communities who lived in harmony with the land. Unlike the towering pyramids or sunken temples we've explored, Doggerland's story isn't written in stone, it's etched in peat, preserved in the bones of mammoths, and whispered by flint tools scattered across the seafloor. What makes Doggerland extraordinary isn't just its scale, it's the intimacy of its relics. Fishermen have hauled up Neolithic spear points, their edges still sharp as if dropped yesterday. Dredgers unearthed a human skull fragment, its owner likely felled by a rising tide they couldn't outrun. Then there's the Doggerland Shrine, a circle of antlers and bones found nestled in what was once a freshwater spring, suggesting rituals to appease the very waters that would soon swallow their world. These aren't the grand monuments of kings, they're the quiet traces of ordinary people, their lives abruptly rewritten by climate change. The real revelation here is how much Doggerland mirrors our own vulnerabilities. As glaciers melted at the end of the last ice age, sea levels rose at a pace that would terrify us today, sometimes several feet per century. The people of Doggerland didn't vanish overnight. They adapted, retreating to higher ground, building stilt houses over wetlands, until even those refuges disappeared. Sound familiar? Their story is a haunting parallel to modern island nations facing erosion, or coastal cities bracing for rising seas. The difference: we have satellites and climate models. They had only oral tales of ancestors who remembered when the land stretched farther. Yet Doggerland's legacy isn't just one of loss. Its preserved peat beds act as a time capsule, locking in pollen, seeds, and even insects that reveal a landscape richer than we imagined. Dense hazel woodlands, marshes alive with waterfowl, and migratory routes used for millennia. Scientists have even reconstructed the Doggerland heron, a now extinct bird whose bones were found alongside human tools, proof of a shared ecosystem lost to the waves. This wasn't a barren wasteland, it was a biodiversity hotspot, a Mesolithic Eden swallowed by forces its inhabitants couldn't control. What lingers most is the unanswered question: what else lies beneath the silt? Sonar scans hint at submerged river valleys, potential campfires, even possible burial mounds, all waiting for technology to reveal them. Unlike stone cities, organic landscapes decay quickly underwater, making every Doggerland discovery a minor miracle. But perhaps that's the lesson here. Not all empires are built of marble. Some are made of reeds and footprints, stories told around fires that once flickered where porpoises now swim. And in their quiet way, those stories might just be the most enduring of all. Now picture a body of water so vast it holds the whispers of an ancient catastrophe, the Black Sea, a tranquil expanse today, but 7,600 years ago, it may have been the stage for one of the most dramatic natural events in human memory. According to the Black Sea Deluge hypothesis, this inland lake, once smaller and freshwater, transformed into the saltwater sea we know in a matter of months, possibly even weeks. The cause: a breach in the Bosporus Strait, where the rising Mediterranean Sea burst through like a shattered dam, flooding the basin with 200 times the force of Niagara Falls. Entire coastlines vanished, settlements drowned, and a way of life disappeared beneath the waves. An event so traumatic, some believe it echoes in flood myths across cultures, from Noah's Ark to the Babylonian epic of Gilgamesh. What makes this theory so compelling isn't just the geological evidence, though that alone is staggering. Underwater surveys have revealed submerged river valleys and ancient shorelines far below today's water level, like ghostly bathtub rings marking where the lake once stood. Even more haunting are the remains of human habitation, stone tools, pottery fragments, and the faint outlines of dwellings found along these drowned coastlines, suggesting communities were forced to flee as the waters rose. Imagine standing on a hillside, watching the sea swallow your home, your fields, every familiar landmark, an experience so searing it would be retold for generations, morphing into legend. But here's where science and myth collide. While some researchers argue the flood was gradual, others point to sediment cores showing a sudden influx of saltwater species, a smoking gun for a catastrophic breach. The debate isn't just academic, it's about how humanity processes disaster. Flood myths appear in over 200 cultures worldwide, often sharing eerie similarities, divine warnings, chosen survivors, and animals saved in vessels. Could these stories be distant memories of real events like the Black Sea Deluge? The parallels are hard to ignore, especially when you consider that survivors would have scattered across Europe and Asia, carrying their trauma and their stories with them. Yet the Black Sea's secrets aren't just locked in the past. Modern explorations continue to uncover surprises, like the impeccably preserved ruins of ancient Greek and Byzantine settlements found in its oxygen-starved depths where shipwrecks lie untouched for centuries. This sea isn't just a graveyard, it's a time capsule preserving snapshots of multiple eras in its layered sediments, and that's the real lesson here. Whether the deluge happened overnight or over decades, its legacy endures not just in science, but in the stories we still tell about water, survival, and the fragile line between land and sea. So the next time you hear an old tale about a great flood, remember, the truth might be lying just beneath the surface, waiting for us to dive deeper. Beneath the shimmering blue waters of the Bay of Naples, a different kind of lost city waits, one not shrouded in myth, but drowned by the very earth it was built upon. Baiae wasn't just any Roman town. It was the playground of emperors, the Vegas of the ancient world, where the elite came to indulge in scandalous parties, thermal baths, and political scheming. Cicero wrote of its debauchery, Nero plotted murders in its villas, and emperors like Caligula famously built floating pleasure palaces just offshore. Today, those same marble halls and mosaic floors lie silent under 15 feet of water, their ruins a haunting snapshot of excess frozen in time not by legend, but by the relentless breath of volcanic forces. What makes Baiae so extraordinary isn't just its state of preservation, it's how vividly it mirrors the society that built it. While other sunken cities spark debates about their origins, Baiae's history is meticulously recorded. Ancient writers like Seneca sneered at its corruption, calling it a den of vices, while poets marveled at its opulent villas filled with gold leaf ceilings and frescoes of mythological scenes. Now divers swim through those same rooms where statues of gods and emperors still stand guard, their faces blurred by centuries of algae, the most striking. A row of slender nymphs, their arms outstretched as if still welcoming guests to a banquet that ended 2,000 years ago. But Baiae's fate wasn't sealed by a sudden cataclysm. Unlike Pompeii, which was buried in a day, this city sank slowly, victim to the same volcanic activity that once fed its legendary hot springs. The ground here is part of the Cambay Phlegre, a supervolcano still active today. Over centuries, a phenomenon called bradysism caused the coastline to rise and fall like a sleeping giant's chest, inch by inch, until the sea claimed entire neighborhoods. It's a stark reminder that nature's warnings often come subtly. Earthquakes trembled underfoot for generations, springs grew scalding, then vanished. Yet the Romans, convinced of their own indestructibility, kept building until the water crept up their marble steps for good. The real lesson of Baiae isn't just about geological forces, it's about human hubris. Modern sonar scans reveal how later generations tried to adapt, repurposing sunken rooms as fish tanks or building makeshift docks over drowned streets. But the sea always won. Today, as scientists monitor Cambay Phlegrae's restless stirrings and warn of future eruptions, Baiae's ruins take on eerie new relevance. Here, amid the seaweed-draped statues, we're forced to ask, when will we learn that no society, no matter how wealthy or powerful, can outrun the consequences of ignoring the Earth's whispers? Perhaps the most poignant discovery isn't in the grand villas, but in the smaller details. A child's marble game abandoned mid-play, a cook's knife resting near an underwater hearth. These aren't relics of mythic heroes, they're fragments of ordinary lives interrupted. That's the power of Baiae. It doesn't let us romanticize collapse. It shows us the exact moment the music stopped, the wine cups were set down, and the partygoers finally realized too late that nature always has the last word. Off the southwestern tip of England, where the Atlantic's waves crash against the rugged cliffs of Cornwall, lies a legend as persistent as the tide, the lost kingdom of Lioness. Said to have stretched from Land's End to the Isles of Scilly, this fabled land was described in medieval tales as a place of towering castles, bustling markets, and lush fields, ruled by a noble king named Tristan. Then, in a single storm-lashed night, the sea surged forth, swallowing Lioness whole. All that remained, according to lore, was the solitary peak of what we now call the Isles of Scilly, the drowned kingdom's last gasp above the waves. What makes Lioness so captivating isn't just the tragedy of its demise, but the eerie geological truths hiding beneath the folklore. Sonar mapping of the seabed between Cornwall and the Scillies reveals submerged river valleys, fossilized forests, and even the faint outlines of what could be ancient field boundaries. These aren't the crumbled walls of a castle, but they paint a picture of a landscape that was once dry land, slowly claimed by rising seas over thousands of years. The timing aligns with the end of the last ice age, when melting glaciers caused ocean levels to rise by nearly 400 feet worldwide, a slow-motion catastrophe that would have reshaped coastlines and forced communities to flee inland. Could Lioness's legend be a fragmented memory of this real event, passed down through generations until it morphed into myth? The parallels with other flood narratives are impossible to ignore. Like Atlantis or Doggerland, Lioness embodies humanity's deep-seated fear of vanishing beneath the waves. Cornish fishermen still speak of hearing church bells tolling beneath the water on stormy nights, a haunting echo of the drowned kingdom's lost chapels. Even the name Lioness might hold a clue. Some linguists trace it to the Celtic word lethaus, so meaning the summer country, a poetic nod to a land now locked in perpetual winter beneath the sea. Yet Lioness's enduring mystery isn't just about geology or linguistics, it's about the power of place. Unlike other sunken cities, no definitive ruins have been found, leaving room for imagination to flourish. Writers like Tennyson wove Lioness into Arthurian legends, while modern archaeologists debate whether scattered stone anchors or odd rock formations near the Scillies could be remnants of human activity. The truth may lie somewhere in between, not a single cataclysmic flood, but a gradual encroachment of the sea, erasing villages and fields over centuries until only stories remain. Perhaps that's why Lioness still captivates us. It's not just a lost kingdom, it's a mirror reflecting our own fragility in the face of nature's power. As climate change once again reshapes coastlines, Lioness's legend feels less like a fairy tale and more like a whispered warning from the past. The sea, after all, has never stopped rising. And somewhere beneath those restless waves, the ghosts of Lioness wait, reminding us that even the mightiest kingdoms are only ever borrowed from the tide. High in the Andes, where the air is thin and the sky presses close, Lake Titicaca stretches like a mirror to another world. Beneath its sapphire surface lies a secret that has puzzled explorers for centuries: monumental stone structures, their edges softened by time but their purpose unmistakable. These aren't random formations, they're the remnants of a forgotten chapter where myth and stone collide. Local Aymara legends speak of a city called Wanaku, built by the gods themselves before the waters rose in punishment for human arrogance. But here's the twist: modern divers have found evidence that suggests these stories might be more than just folklore. In the shadowy depths near the Island of the Sun, sonar scans reveal walls that curve with deliberate precision, staircases leading nowhere, and massive blocks fitted together in ways that defy natural erosion. The most striking discovery, a submerged temple-like structure, its entrance flanked by carved stone portals resembling those found in nearby Tiwanaku, the ancient citadel whose name literally means stone in the center. Coincidence unlikely. Artifacts recovered from the lakebed, gold figurines, ceremonial bowls, even bundles of sacred coca leaves, hint at rituals meant to appease the lake's capricious spirits. These offerings, some dating back over 2,000 years, suggest the Inca weren't the first to worship these waters. They inherited a tradition far older, one that viewed Titicaca not just as a body of water, but as a living deity. What makes these sunken megaliths so fascinating isn't just their scale, but their symbolism. For the Andean peoples, water was duality itself, a giver of life that could also erase civilizations in an instant. The lake's fluctuating levels, shaped by ancient climate shifts, may have drowned settlements repeatedly, weaving catastrophe into cultural memory. Imagine standing on these shores centuries ago, watching the water swallow homes and shrines, only to reinterpret the disaster as divine retribution. The ruins beneath Titicaca aren't just archaeological sites, they're physical manifestations of that existential dance between reverence and fear. Yet the mystery deepens when you consider the logistics. How did pre-Inca cultures, without modern tools, transport multi-ton stones across the lake's treacherous currents? Some researchers point to the Cabalitos de Tortora, reed boats still used by local fishermen today, but even these seem fragile against Titicaca's sudden storms. Others speculate about land bridges now submerged, or even deliberate construction underwater, a theory that would rewrite our understanding of ancient engineering. Whatever the truth, one thing is clear: the lake's depths guard their secrets jealously. The most haunting clue might lie in the Aymara people themselves, who still perform rituals on the lake's surface, dropping offerings into its depths as their ancestors did. In their eyes, Wanaku isn't lost. It's simply waiting, its stories etched not just in stone, but in the collective memory of those who still listen to the whispers of the water. And perhaps that's the real lesson of Titicaca's sunken megaliths, that the line between myth and history isn't drawn in sand, but in waves. Deep in the jungles of Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula, where sunlight filters through dense green canopies, the earth opens up into hidden world cenotes, vast underwater caves filled with crystal-clear water. But these aren't just natural wonders, they're sacred archives holding the bones of the past. For the ancient Maya, these flooded caverns weren't merely sources of fresh water. They were gateways to Xibalba, the feared underworld, where gods demanded reverence and the line between life and death dissolved into the dark. Divers exploring these submerged labyrinths have uncovered chilling relics, pottery shards etched with prayers, jade offerings placed in crevices like silent bribes to the gods, and skeletal remains arranged with eerie intentionality. Some skulls show signs of ritual defleshing, while others rest beside ceremonial blades, hinting at sacrifices meant to appease deities of rain and fertility. The most haunting discoveries lie in the cave system's deepest chambers, where oxygen dwindles and flashlight beams reveal altars built from stalagmites, their surfaces worn smooth by centuries of reverent touch. These weren't accidental drownings or flooded settlements. They were deliberate acts of devotion, a spiritual contract written in bone and water. What sets the Yucatan's cenotes apart from other underwater sites is their sacred geography. Unlike sunken cities claimed by rising seas, these caves were always meant to be submerged. The Maya saw them as living entities, veins connecting the human world to the divine. Texts like the Popol Vuh describe Xibalba as a place of trials where heroes faced darkness and deception. To enter these waters was to commune with that mythic realm, to surrender to its mysteries. Modern researchers have even found traces of sacred cacao and copal resin in the cave's offerings, meant to guide spirits through the underworld's treacherous paths. Yet the cenotes guard their secrets fiercely. Exploring them is a dance with danger, where narrow passageways twist into sudden voids and sediment clouds can erase visibility in seconds. One wrong turn, and a diver might disturb burial sites untouched for a millennium or disrupt fragile artifacts resting in silent vigil. The water, though transparent, becomes a mirror reflecting our own intrusion, an uncomfortable truth for archaeologists who must balance discovery with respect. Perhaps the most profound lesson lies in the duality of these sites. The same waters that sustained Maya cities with life-giving drink also demanded lives in return. In a land where droughts could unravel civilizations, the cenotes were both blessing and curse, providers and takers. Today, as climbers rappel into their depths and beams of light pierce the gloom, it's impossible not to feel the weight of that paradox, the beauty of the blue meeting the shadow, the sacred meeting the scientific, the past meeting the present. And somewhere in those silent chambers, the whispers of the Maya endure, reminding us that some boundaries between worlds, between eras, are meant to be crossed with reverence, not force. Along the winding fjords of northern Germany, where the Schlei River meets the Baltic Sea, the water hides a secret, the bones of a Viking metropolis. Hedeby wasn't just another settlement. It was the beating heart of Norse commerce, a crossroads where traders from Constantinople to Dublin bartered amber, furs, and sword blades under the watchful eyes of bearded kings. Today, its splendor lies beneath the silt, a submerged relic of an empire built on tides and timber. But unlike the mythical cities we've explored, Hedeby's story isn't shrouded in legend. It's etched in oak planks and rusted nails, waiting to be read. Divers probing these murky depths have unearthed a time capsule of Viking ingenuity. The wrecks of longships rest where they once docked, their hulls preserved by the fjord's cold embrace. Some show repairs made with wood from distant forests, proof of far-flung voyages. Nearby, the seabed is littered with trade goods, Byzantine coins rubbed smooth by eager fingers, fragments of Arabic glass, even a Buddha figurine from India testaments to a network stretching halfway across the known world. These aren't the treasures of a lost Atlantis. They're the receipts of a bustling port, a place where practicality and ambition sailed hand in hand. What makes Hedeby extraordinary isn't just what's been found, but how it redefines our view of the Vikings. Far from the raiders of popular lore, these were masterful merchants and engineers. The town's layout, painstakingly mapped through underwater surveys, reveals a carefully planned grid of jetties and warehouses designed to handle floods and ice. Artifacts like precision scales and counterfeit coin molds hint at a society grappling with the same challenges as modern markets fraud. inflation, and the delicate dance of supply and demand. Even their waste tells a story. Mounds of discarded fish bones show a thriving fishing industry, while shattered drinking horns suggest feasts where deals were sealed in mead and mutual interest. Yet Hedabe's fate holds a quieter lesson about the fragility of human enterprise. Unlike cities swallowed by tsunamis or volcanic eruptions, this hub didn't fall to a single disaster. Its decline was slow, almost imperceptible, a death by 1,000 cuts. Shifting trade routes bypassed the fjord as larger ships favored deeper ports. Political squabbles weakened its defenses, leaving it vulnerable to raids. By the 11th century, rising sea levels and silt buildup turned its bustling harbor into a shallow backwater. The very water that had nourished Hedabe now choked it, stranding ships and drowning wharves under layers of mud. Today, archaeologists sifting through that mud face a paradox. Hedabe's submersion, while erasing its future, preserved its past. The oxygen-deprived fjord slowed decay, leaving wood and leather intact where air would have crumbled them centuries ago. It's as if the water, having claimed the city, decided to safeguard its memory. And perhaps that's the real magic of places like Hedabe. They remind us that history isn't just written in stone or gold. It's woven into the warp and weft of everyday life, waiting for the patient hands of science to pull its threads back to the surface. Beneath the chilly waves of Lake Michigan, where sunlight barely reaches the sandy bottom, lies a puzzle that defies expectations. In 2007, while mapping the lakebed with sonar, researchers stumbled upon something extraordinary. A perfect ring of stones, each roughly the size of a car, arranged in a formation eerily reminiscent of Stonehenge. But this wasn't just another geological oddity. Nearby, the sonar picked up an even more startling detail. A boulder carved with the crude but unmistakable outline of a mastodon, a creature that vanished from North America over 10,000 years ago. If human hands placed those stones and chiseled that image, it would rewrite the story of ancient North America, suggesting a ritual sophistication we never knew existed here. The implications are staggering. Conventional timelines place the earliest known megalithic cultures, think Stonehenge or the Karnak stones, thousands of years later. Yet here, in the depths of the Great Lakes, we might have evidence of a people who not only coexisted with Ice Age megafauna, but memorialized them in stone. The mastodon carving is the clincher. These animals roamed North America until roughly 10,500 years ago, meaning whoever created this site likely lived in a world where glaciers still loomed on the horizon, where the landscape was raw and untamed. Were these stones an astronomical calendar, a sacred meeting place, or perhaps a memorial to the very beasts they depicted? Without physical exploration, we can only guess. What makes this discovery so tantalizing is its isolation. Unlike the sunken cities of the Mediterranean or the Yucatan cenotes, this site isn't part of a known cultural complex. It stands alone, a solitary enigma in a region where pre-Columbian history has long been overshadowed by later narratives. The indigenous peoples of the Great Lakes, like the Anishinaabe, have oral traditions of ancient migrations and lost lands, but nothing that directly explains this underwater circle. Could it be a forgotten chapter of their ancestral past, or evidence of an even older, unnamed culture that vanished without a trace? The challenges of studying the site only deepen the mystery. Lake Michigan's cold, dark waters preserve organic material well, but strong currents and limited visibility make detailed excavation risky. Even dating the stones is problematic. Without artifacts or charcoal to carbon date, researchers must rely on indirect clues like the mastodon carving's probable age. Some geologists argue the formation could be natural, a fluke of glacial deposition. but the symmetry and the accompanying artwork tilt the scales toward human intent. Until divers or submersibles can bring back definitive proof, the stones remain a riddle, their secrets locked in the lake's silent depths. Perhaps the most haunting question isn't who built this structure, but why it's underwater at all. During the last ice age, lake levels were far lower, exposing vast stretches of what's now the lakebed. As glaciers melted, the water rose, swallowing shorelines and possibly entire settlements. Could this stone circle be the tip of a submerged cultural iceberg, with other ruins waiting to be found? The Great Lakes are littered with shipwrecks, but this discovery hints at a far older graveyard, one that predates ships, metal, even pottery. For now, the submerged Stonehenge of Lake Michigan remains a ghost in the sonar data, a whisper from a time when humans and mastodons shared a continent. It challenges us to reconsider the ingenuity of ancient peoples, to acknowledge that sacred landscapes might lie hidden in places we least expect. And as technology advances, who knows what else might emerge from the depths, ready to shake the foundations of history once more. The waters off Egypt's coast hold more than just the remnants of sunken ships. They guard the silent tombs of pharaohs who once ruled over lands now lost to the sea. Near the ancient cities of Canopus and Thonis Heracleion, divers have uncovered a submerged necropolis, its stone sarcophagi resting where waves now ripple over what were once sacred burial chambers. These aren't just random relics, they're fragments of a civilization that revered the Nile's life-giving floods, yet ultimately succumbed to the ocean's relentless advance. Among the most striking discoveries are statues of Osiris, the god of the underworld, their faces still eerily intact despite centuries beneath the salt water. It's as if the sea, in claiming these monuments, became both preserver and destroyer, a duality the Egyptians themselves would have understood. What makes these sunken tombs so fascinating isn't just their grandeur, but what they reveal about the Egyptian relationship with water. Inscriptions found on the walls of these submerged structures speak of rituals honoring Osiris, whose myth involved drowning and resurrection. The Egyptians saw the annual Nile flood as a reflection of this cycle: destruction followed by renewal. Yet here, in these drowned cities, the metaphor takes on a darker tone. The very force they celebrated as a source of life eventually turned against them, swallowing their temples and tombs as sea levels rose and the land sank. Archaeologists have even found evidence of makeshift repairs to seawalls, a desperate attempt to hold back the inevitable. These weren't just passive victims of nature, they fought back, adapting until adaptation was no longer possible. The artifacts tell a story of cultural resilience: gold amulets shaped like papyrus boats, meant to guide the dead through the underworld's rivers, now lie scattered beside actual shipwrecks, blurring the line between symbolic journey and literal shipwreck. Statues of pharaohs, once positioned to gaze eternally over their domains, now stare blankly into the murky depths, their authority undone by the tides. Even the tombs themselves, designed to last for eternity, have become something else: underwater museums, their contents rearranged by currents but still whispering of beliefs that outlasted stone. Perhaps the most poignant lesson lies in the timing. Thonis Heracleion and Canopus didn't vanish overnight. Their decline spanned generations, a slow retreat marked by abandoned neighborhoods and repurposed monuments. Sound familiar today as modern coastal cities grapple with rising seas? These sunken tombs serve as a silent warning. The Egyptians, for all their divine kingship and engineering prowess, couldn't command the waters forever. Their story forces us to ask, when the next great flood comes, will our own monuments fare any better? Yet there's beauty in the way these ruins endure. Coral now grows over the faces of gods, and fish dart between the legs of stone pharaohs. The sea, having taken these treasures, has also given them new life, not as relics of a lost world, but as part of an ever-changing one. And in that transformation, they remind us that even the mightiest empires are, in the end, just another layer in the sediment of time. The dense, emerald vastness of the Amazon has long whispered of secrets buried beneath its canopy, none more tantalizing than the legend of the lost city of Z. In 1925, British explorer Percy Fawcett vanished into those uncharted depths, convinced he was on the trail of an ancient metropolis glittering with gold. For decades, his disappearance fueled speculation. Had he stumbled upon a civilization rivaling the Inca, only to be swallowed by the jungle? Or was Z merely a mirage, a fever dream conjured by the relentless green? Fast forward to the 21st century, and cutting-edge technology is peeling back the layers of that mystery, revealing truths far stranger than fiction. LiDAR laser imaging that strips away vegetation to map the ground beneath has unveiled a hidden world under the Amazon's roof. Vast geometric earthworks, sprawling road networks, and even what appear to be ceremonial plazas now dot the digital surveys, evidence of sophisticated societies that thrived here over 1,000 years ago. These weren't scattered villages, but interconnected urban hubs home to tens of thousands. And here's the twist. Many of these structures lie along riverbanks now submerged by seasonal floods, suggesting that rising waters, whether from climatic shifts or deliberate environmental engineering, may have drowned these cities long before European contact. The implications are staggering. Fawcett's vision of Z wasn't pure fantasy. It was an echo of real, forgotten civilizations, their stories preserved only in fragments of pottery and oral traditions. Indigenous tribes like the Cuicuro still speak of ancestors who built mounds to escape the floods, tales once dismissed as myth but now corroborated by LiDAR's unblinking eye. Even the name Z feels prophetic. These settlements form a cryptic alphabet etched into the earth, waiting to be decoded. Yet the Amazon's watery embrace complicates the search. Unlike stone pyramids or sunken temples, these cities were built of wood and earth, materials that dissolve back into the jungle with startling speed. Rivers shift course, burying ruins under layers of silt, while roots and vines reclaim even the grandest structures within generations. It's a race against time and nature, one where technology must outpace decay. Recent expeditions have turned up canals stretching for miles, evidence of aquaculture systems that sustained populations we once believed impossible in the untamed rainforest. The real revelation here isn't just the existence of these cities, but what they force us to reconsider. The Amazon wasn't a pristine wilderness. It was a managed landscape shaped by human hands for millennia. The very rivers that hid these ruins might have been their lifeblood and their eventual undertakers. As climate change accelerates flooding in the basin today, we're left to wonder how many more Zs lie beneath the murky waters, their histories dissolved like the civilizations they once harbored. Fawcett's quest ended in silence, but his legacy lives on in every laser pulse scanning the jungle floor. The lost cities of the Amazon remind us that exploration isn't just about discovering new places, it's about rediscovering the depth of our own ignorance. And somewhere in that tangled green labyrinth between the rising rivers and the fading trails, the truth about Z waits, patient as the trees. 22nd mystery. The sunken ruins of Port Royal. Once the wickedest city on Earth, Port Royal sank in 1692 after an earthquake. Underwater excavations reveal preserved streets, taverns, and artifacts, offering a snapshot of pirate life. Unlike ancient myths, Port Royal's destruction is historical fact, showing how quickly human hubris can be undone by natural forces. Its ruins serve as a time capsule of colonial excess and catastrophe. Picture this, a bustling pirate haven where gold flowed as freely as rum, where merchants rubbed shoulders with cutthroats, and where the streets echoed with the raucous laughter of sailors fresh from plundering Spanish galleons. Port Royal wasn't just a city, it was a symbol of the audacity of an era, a place where fortunes were made and lost in the blink of an eye. Then, in the span of minutes, it was gone. On June 7, 1692, an earthquake ripped through Jamaica, liquefying the sandy ground beneath Port Royal's feet. Buildings collapsed like sandcastles, and the sea surged in, swallowing 2/3 of the city whole. Over 2,000 people perished instantly, their lives snuffed out by the very forces they'd arrogantly believed they could tame. Today, the ruins of Port Royal lie just 40 feet below the surface, preserved in an eerie state of suspended animation. Underwater archaeologists have uncovered taverns with pewter tankards still perched on tables, as if awaiting their next round of patrons. A pocket watch, its hands frozen at 11:43, marks the exact moment the earthquake struck. Even the bones of those who didn't escape tell stories. One skeleton, found clutching a silver spoon, speaks to the suddenness of the disaster. These aren't just artifacts, they're frozen vignettes of a day when the earth itself rebelled against human excess. What makes Port Royal unique among sunken cities isn't just its historical documentation, it's the sheer audacity of its downfall. Unlike Atlantis or Dwarka, whose disappearances were shrouded in legend, Port Royal's fate was meticulously recorded. Diaries from survivors describe how the ground opened like a hungry maw, swallowing people mid-stride. Ministers proclaimed the disaster divine retribution for the city's sins, while pirates, those who survived, fled to quieter havens, their bravado shaken. The irony is palpable, a city built on plunder and vice, undone not by rival empires but by the caprice of geology. Yet Port Royal's ruins offer more than just moral lessons. They're a masterclass in preservation. The same silt that drowned the city also protected it, sealing buildings and artifacts in an oxygen-free tomb. Divers have recovered everything from delicate glassware to intact clay pipes, their bowls still stained with tobacco. One particularly haunting find: a child's leather shoe, tiny and perfectly formed, a reminder that even in the wickedest city on earth, ordinary lives were lived and lost. The most striking revelation, though, isn't in the artifacts, it's in the city's layout. Port Royal was a meticulously planned hub of colonial ambition, its streets a deliberate assertion of European order imposed on Caribbean chaos. Now, those same streets are a maze of collapsed brick and coral, their order obliterated. The juxtaposition is poetic, human arrogance literally swallowed by the sea. Port Royal's legacy isn't just a cautionary tale, it's a mirror. As modern cities grapple with rising seas and unpredictable climate shifts, this sunken pirate haven reminds us that nature always has the final word. The next time you walk through a bustling metropolis, consider this. All it takes is one tremor, one surge to turn streets into seabed. Port Royal isn't just a relic, it's a prophecy whispering up from the depths. Beneath the turquoise waters of the Java Sea, where volcanic peaks rise like broken teeth from the ocean floor, lies a secret that blurs the line between legend and landmass. Here, off the coast of modern-day Jakarta, divers have stumbled upon a spectacle that defies time: stone temples, their spires now encrusted with coral, their courtyards home to darting fish instead of chanting priests. These aren't just random ruins, they're meticulously carved monuments, their walls adorned with reliefs of Hindu deities frozen mid-dance, their altars still bearing the weight of offerings made centuries ago. Local folklore speaks of the Kingdom of Sunder, a prosperous realm swallowed by the sea after a mountain's wrath. Until recently, these stories were dismissed as poetic metaphor. But the stones tell a different tale. What makes these submerged temples so extraordinary isn't just their artistry, it's the brutal irony of their demise. Built to honor gods who controlled fire and earth, they now rest in the domain of water, claimed by the very forces their creators sought to appease. The carvings depict scenes of worship to Agni, the god of flames, and Shiva, the destroyer and rebuilder of worlds. It's as if the earth itself answered their prayers with a cruel twist. Volcanic eruptions triggered tsunamis that dragged these sacred spaces beneath the waves, turning sanctuaries into shipwrecks of faith. Geologists studying the site have found layers of ash and pumice mixed with temple debris, a smoking gun linking their collapse to the region's fiery geology. Yet the temple's sinking wasn't a single cataclysm, it was a slow-motion surrender. Unlike Port Royal's abrupt disappearance, these structures slipped underwater over generations, their staircases flooding first, then their inner chambers, giving priests time to adapt. Archaeologists have found evidence of raised platforms and relocated rituals, signs of a people negotiating with inevitability, the most haunting detail. Offerings placed at the new waterline shells, coins, even a bronze statue of Gainsha positioned precisely where the waves began to lick the temple steps. These weren't acts of abandonment, they were acts of translation, a culture recalibrating its relationship with the divine as the earth shifted beneath its feet. Parallels to modern Indonesia are impossible to ignore. This archipelago sits atop the Pacific Ring of Fire, where tectonic plates grind like restless giants. The same forces that drowned these temples still shape the region today, with volcanoes like Krakatoa and Anak Krakatau rewriting coastlines in eruptions that echo ancient disasters. Local fishermen still speak of underwater cities glimpsed in unusually clear waters, their stories dismissed as superstition until the next seismic event exposes another fragment of the past. It's a reminder that in this part of the world, myth isn't just memory, it's prophecy. Perhaps the most poignant lesson lies in the temple's carvings themselves. Among the gods and demons, one motif repeats: the cosmic serpent Ananta, whose coils support the universe as it cycles through creation and destruction. The artisans who chiseled this symbol into stone understood impermanence, knew that even the mightiest kingdoms are but flickers in geological time. Now, as divers trace the serpent's form with their lights, the message feels unmistakable. The earth gives and the earth takes away. And somewhere in that balance between what we build and what the sea claims lies the true meaning of reverence. The Mediterranean has always been more than a body of water. It's a liquid archive, its depths cradling relics that rewrite our understanding of antiquity. Take the Antikythera mechanism, a corroded bronze lump salvaged from a shipwreck near Crete in 1901. At first glance, it seemed unremarkable, just another artifact among statues and amphorae. But decades later, X-rays revealed its true nature, an intricate clockwork device capable of predicting planetary positions and eclipses with precision that wouldn't be matched for over 1,000 years. This wasn't just cargo, it was a masterpiece of ancient engineering, proof that scientific ambition stretched far beyond what history books once claimed. Then there's the Uluburan shipwreck, a time capsule of Bronze Age globalization. Sunk off the Turkish coast around 1300 BCE, this vessel carried treasures from at least 7 civilizations: Egyptian gold, Mycenaean pottery, Cypriot copper ingots shaped like ox hides, even amber from the Baltic. But the most revealing finds weren't the luxuries, they were the everyday items. A carpenter's wooden writing tablet, its wax long dissolved, hints at record keeping across cultures. Scarabs repurposed as jewelry show how symbols of power could travel far from their origins, morphing in meaning with each new port. These weren't just trade goods, they were the building blocks of shared identity, carried on tides that connected empires. Deeper still lie the submerged sanctuaries where faith followed the currents. Off the coast of Sicily, divers found a shrine to the Phoenician goddess Tanit, her crescent symbol carved into stones now swaying with seaweed. Nearby, a Greek votive ship model rests beside Carthaginian amulets, evidence that sailors of rival nations might have prayed side by side before braving the same storms. Even shipwrecks themselves became accidental temples, the famous Doko's wreck, dating back to 2700 BCE, held not just pottery but ritual vessels, suggesting traders blended commerce with ceremony. What emerges from these sunken clues is a portrait of a world far more fluid than we imagined. The Mediterranean wasn't a barrier between civilizations. It was a conduit where Egyptian astronomers could influence Greek inventors, where Cypriot metals fueled Minoan artistry, where a single storm could bury a ship and preserve a millennium of connections in salted silence. Every artifact is a thread in a vast, soggy tapestry, woven by waves and weighted by time. Yet for all we've recovered, the sea keeps its tightest grip on the intangible. How many oral traditions, how many unrecorded innovations, how many chance encounters between cultures vanished beneath the waves without a trace? The Mediterranean's greatest secret might be all the stories it refuses to surrender. And that's what keeps us diving, not just for answers, but for the thrill of the next question lurking in the dark. The ocean has always been the ultimate keeper of secrets, but now, for the first time in history, we're developing the tools to pry those secrets loose. Imagine a fleet of robotic archaeologists gliding silently through the abyss, their sensors peeling back layers of sediment to reveal lost cities untouched for millennia. This isn't science fiction, it's the cutting edge of underwater exploration. Advanced 3D mapping technologies can now reconstruct entire submerged landscapes with millimeter precision, turning murky depths into virtual museums we can explore from the surface. In the Mediterranean, researchers recently used photogrammetry to create a digital twin of a Roman shipwreck, allowing historians to walk its deck and handle virtual amphorae without disturbing the fragile site. Meanwhile, autonomous deep-sea drones like the Ocean One, a robotic diver with haptic feedback, are reaching depths that would crush human explorers, retrieving artifacts from trenches once considered unreachable. But technology isn't the only force pulling these lost worlds into the light. Climate change, while threatening coastal sites with rising seas, is also acting as an unlikely ally in discovery. Prolonged droughts have lowered water levels in rivers and lakes, exposing ruins like the Spanish Stonehenge in the Valdecañas Reservoir. In the Arctic, melting ice has revealed Norse artifacts along vanished trade routes, while intensifying storms scour away sand to unveil hidden structures, like the Neolithic village that emerged off the Welsh coast after a hurricane. These accidental glimpses come with urgency, though. Saltwater erosion and looters often follow fast, turning fragile windows into closing doors. Archaeologists now race against time, employing AI to predict where the next reveal might occur, prioritizing sites most at risk of vanishing again before they can be studied. What makes this moment so pivotal isn't just the scale of potential discoveries, it's how they could shatter long-held assumptions. Take the Black Sea's anoxic depths, where shipwrecks survive intact for centuries. Recent expeditions there uncovered a 400-year-old Greek vessel so well preserved its mast still stands, a discovery that may rewrite our understanding of ancient maritime trade. Or consider the uncharted seamounts of the Pacific, where side-scan sonar has detected unnatural geometric shapes, hints of structures that, if human-made, could push back the timeline of Polynesian navigation. Even coral reefs hold surprises. Some grow over the ruins of forgotten ports, their growth rings encoding centuries of environmental data that could correlate with historical events. Yet the greatest treasure might lie in collaboration. Indigenous knowledge, long dismissed as myth, is guiding scientists to submerged sites. In Australia, Aboriginal oral traditions led researchers to ancient fish traps now underwater, while Maori navigational lore has pinpointed probable locations of ancestral land bridges. These partnerships are blurring the line between archaeology and cultural revival, proving that the ocean's secrets aren't just academic puzzles, they're living memories. As submersibles grow more sophisticated and satellite imaging detects subtle salinity changes that hint at buried ruins, one truth becomes clear: we're not just exploring the past. We're preparing to meet it head-on in all its drowned glory. The next decade won't just add footnotes to history, it may rip out entire chapters and replace them with stories we've only begun to imagine. The treasures of the deep don't just belong to the past, they're caught in a modern tug of war over who gets to claim their legacy. When a Spanish galleon loaded with gold is discovered off Colombia, is it a historical windfall for archaeologists or plundered wealth that should be returned to its country of origin? When sacred artifacts from indigenous coastal communities are lifted from the seabed, do they belong in a museum or to the descendants who still honor their meaning? These aren't hypothetical debates, they're real clashes unfolding as underwater archaeology advances, revealing just how murky the ethics of discovery can be. Consider the case of the Black Swan Project. In 2007, a private salvage company recovered 17 tons of silver and gold coins from a wreck believed to be the Spanish frigate Nuestra Señora de los Mercedes. Spain sued, arguing the ship and its cargo remained sovereign property under international law. After a 5-year legal battle, U.S. courts ordered the treasure returned, setting a precedent. Shipwrecks aren't free for the taking, even in international waters. But what about wrecks with no clear modern successor? The Belitung, a 9th century Arab dhow found off Indonesia, was commercially excavated and its Chinese ceramics sold to Singapore, sparking outrage from archaeologists who called it treasure hunting masquerading as science. The tension between preservation and profit is only half the battle. For indigenous communities, submerged sites aren't just academic curiosities, they're ancestral touchstones. In Australia, the Jabugay people have fought to protect underwater ceremonial grounds near the Great Barrier Reef from dredging, while in the Pacific Northwest, the Heiltsuk Nation successfully halted a shipwreck tour operation that threatened a sacred burial cave. These communities aren't opposed to research, they demand a seat at the table. We don't just want our artifacts studied, one Heiltsuk elder noted. We want to decide how they're handled, how they're displayed, and what stories are told about them. Even among researchers, ethical lines blur. Should fragile artifacts be raised for public display, knowing exposure to air could destroy them? The Vasa, a 17th century Swedish warship, has required constant chemical treatment since its recovery to prevent its timber from crumbling, a cautionary tale about the costs of saving history. Meanwhile, underwater drones and 3D modeling now allow virtual reconstructions without disturbing sites, but funding often flows to flashy recoveries, not digital preservation. The result, a race to raise relics before they're lost, sometimes at the expense of meticulous science. The legal framework is no clearer. The 2001 UNESCO Convention on Underwater Cultural Heritage discourages commercial exploitation, but key nations like the U.S. US and UK haven't ratified it, leaving a patchwork of conflicting laws. A wreck off Turkey might be protected, while an identical one off Florida could be stripped by treasure hunters. And what of warships considered sovereign graves by some nations? Japan protested when a private group filmed the sunken Musashi, a World War Roman II battleship, arguing it dishonored the dead, even as documentaries about Titanic tourism continue unabated. Perhaps the way forward lies in collaboration, not conquest. In Norway, the Museum of Cultural History partners with the Sami people to study submerged coastal sites, blending traditional knowledge with sonar technology. In Mexico, cave divers work with Maya elders to document cenote rituals without removing offerings. These projects prove that ethical exploration isn't about halting discovery. It's about ensuring the voices of the past guide how we uncover their secrets. As technology pulls more sunken wonders into the light, we're forced to confront a truth deeper than any wreck. The ocean's treasures don't belong to whoever finds them first. They're fragments of human stories, and those stories deserve to be told with care, context, and above all, respect. The real challenge isn't unlocking the seabed's secrets, it's deciding who gets to hold the key. From the legendary spires of Atlantis to the coral-crowned megaliths of Nan Madol, these drowned worlds are more than just relics, they're living puzzles, constantly reshaping our understanding of human history. Underwater archaeology isn't just about recovering lost artifacts. It's a dialogue between myth and microscope, where ancient stories guide sonar scans and sediment cores reveal truths once confined to folklore. Every time divers illuminate another sunken temple or robotic submersibles map a forgotten city grid, we're handed fragments of a narrative far richer than textbooks ever allowed. Consider the haunting precision of Yonaguni's terraces, or the gold-strewn streets of Heracleion. Each discovery forces us to rewrite timelines and reconsider what we thought we knew about ambition, spirituality, and resilience. What makes these submerged secrets so transformative isn't just their age, but their uncanny relevance. The same forces that erased these empires, rising seas, seismic shifts, climatic turmoil, are the very challenges we face today. When archaeologists trace the finger grooves in Dwarka's flood-worn stones or analyze the tsunami sediments around Pavlopetri, they're not just studying the past, they're decoding a warning. These ruins remind us that civilizations don't vanish overnight. They fracture slowly, their collapse written in retreating shorelines and desperate repairs until the waves finally claim them. Yet within that fragility lies a paradox. The sea that devours also preserves. Saltwater cradles wooden tools, textiles, even whispers of rituals in ways arid land never could, gifting us snapshots of daily life frozen in brine and time. The future of this field pulses with possibility. Imagine AI reconstructing entire cities from scattered sonar echoes, or deep-sea drones gently brushing silt from inscriptions no human hand has touched for millennia. Already, projects like the Sunken Cities of Egypt initiative are blending 3D modeling with indigenous oral histories, proving that technology and tradition can illuminate the past together. And with every innovation subsurface lie DAR, isotopic analysis of ancient flood layers, we peel back another layer of mystery. Could the next dive uncover a library of clay tablets under the Black Sea? Might a storm expose another Bimini road, its origins still hotly debated? The ocean's archives are vast, and we've barely flipped through the first pages. So as the tides of discovery keep turning, one truth emerges. History isn't confined to dry land. It's etched in the shifting sands of coastal graves, encoded in the alignment of submerged monoliths, whispered by the artifacts we've yet to recover. These sunken empires challenge us to stay curious, to question, and above all, to listen, because the past isn't finished speaking. And who knows, the next great revelation might be lurking just beneath the next wave, waiting for the right moment